Hello and welcome back. In today's video, I will be acclimating my Ecuaganera imports, specifically the philodendrons, and we will be using a different substrate today, and I will walk you through my thought process and why I'm using different substrates for different plants, but yeah, let's get into this video. Alright, so I'm going to be potting up all of my imports from Ecuaganera in semi-hydro. Now, this is the mixture right here. And I started off with some ponds, and then I had added some orchiata, charcoal, large perlite, and a dash of stratum. And the reason why I added some stratum was because when I was working with tissue cultures, I noticed that stratum actually helped promote more root growth. Root development? Yeah, more root development. So that's the reason why I added some stratum to this mixture. And I had actually added some stratum to my struggling Thai constellation. So what I ended up doing with that Thai constellation was I had a layer of stratum on the bottom and then you know, ponds on top. So stratum is mixed into here. I think what I'll do is add like a little layer of stratum on the bottom to all of my my plants, just to see if it'll do the same thing. But yeah, I'm pretty confident that it'll help promote more root development. So that's the reason why I added stratum to this mixture. And I'm sorry, I don't have an exact science or measurement to what it is or how I had created this mixture. I just kind of eyeballed everything until I think that it's good enough to my liking. So I apologize in advance if you guys wanted like specific measurements, but I don't have any. So we are going to start off with this monstera obliqua. Now this is how it looks right now. It did have some root rot, so I was just cleaning it up a little bit. And you guys know that when I'm working with plants that have root rot, I do let it soak in hydrogen peroxide so that it can kill off any bacteria or fungus or what have you on the roots. So this is what it looks like, and I'm probably going to continue trimming it back a little more. Because there's some things in here that we just don't need. Now, what I did notice about this obliqua, which is quite interesting, is the way it grows. I cannot for the life of me figure out where the main stem is, or the main branch, because it looks like there's a bunch of shoots that's coming off of something. And I'm mentioning this because I had accidentally snapped this guy off. And yeah, it's just so bizarre to me, because usually what I'm used to seeing is this is the main growth point here, and then the new one would grow from here, which there is. I just kind of like snapped it off, and then that new growth point, once it like fully emerges, another one would come from there. So I don't know, it's just kind of weird to me. It just looks like a bunch of shoots. But yeah, I don't know. In any case, right now I am going to be just snipping off anything that looks suspicious, and then I will pot it up in semi-hydro. So I did get asked a very good question on my last video, which was the sub. Anyways, the question was, why did I choose to pot up my my anthuriums in soil rather than semi-hydro? Because I'm assuming it's because of all the other videos that I had done for my anthuriums. I had did like a huge repot for all of my anthuriums in semi-hydro, and I chose to put my anthuriums from Ecuaganera in soil because the roots on those anthuriums were soil roots, and I know that if you use ponds it'll be okay, but I just didn't want to risk it. I wanted to keep the integrity of the plant and prevent any leaves from dropping and yellowing, which is the reason why I had used my orchid mix as opposed to transitioning it over to semi-hydro. I feel like it would have been fine, but I just didn't want to risk it. And I'm using semi-hydro for these guys because the roots are so much more fine And I feel like when you're using orchid mix or soil, you run the, well, okay, first of all, when you're using orchid mix, there's more like air pockets in that mixture. And that's great for anthuriums because their roots are so much more chunkier than the philodendrons. So when you're looking at philodendrons, their roots are like really fine. Like it's super fine, it's very hair-like and straggly. So I feel like if you have a lot of pockets in your mixture, you kind of run the risk of root rot, because once you start to water your plant, those air pockets will be filled up with water. And because I'm using no drainage, what can end up happening is the water's just gonna sit there. It has nowhere to go. So I didn't want to risk my philodendrons in soil, but I chose soil for my anthuriums because they were already soil roots, and that's kind of like what it's already used to. Now I could have cleaned it really well and put it in semi-hydro, but there's a whole lot of maintenance in doing semi-hydro, and I feel like that's like another video that I will have to do, because there's just a whole lot of maintenance that I don't think a lot of people are aware. And if you're starting out for the first time, like, I think it could be very overwhelming, because if you're not used to it, you're going to be wondering why your plant is dropping leaves, why is it yellowing? And it's one of those things where it's like you've worked so hard to get this, you know, this rare plant, and now it's just dying. So that's the reason why I opted for orchid mix for my my anthuriums. And because the roots on these guys are so much more fine, I feel like using ponds is a good idea, because you just have less air pockets. So much more easier to work with too, to be honest. Like, I spend less time ensuring that you know, every crevice is filled. So yeah, I love working with semi-hydro. Also, I find that I use so much more ponds when I'm working with anthuriums. I think it's just because you need like a bigger vessel, but they do really well in semi-hydro. I'll have to show you guys an update on my other anthuriums that are currently in. Oh, I forgot to add something to this. Forgot to add some myco. Oh well. So what I will do is I'm gonna add some myco. I'm using the Great White because I forgot to sprinkle it on top of the roots. What I'll do is I'll put some on top now, and then I will fill it up with some water. Not like fill it up, but like add this much water. And that's how she looks. So it actually did pretty good in my exo tank. I can't complain. The crispiness is normal. I wish that the new leaf here kind of like made it, but it didn't. So it is what it is. Now up next, let's work on this guy right over here. This plant is very tall and very big. And it has a whole lot of import roots that I think are just, I don't think it's viable. So what I will do is I'm gonna start kind of clipping off all of these things, and I'm actually going to cut back this chunk right here. So let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut it right in half right here. Yeah, I'm gonna start cutting all this stuff off. So when I am working with my imports, I like to trim back the roots, because some of them are fried and are just not good. This is a decent aerial root, but it's toasted, so that'll have to go. And I am trimming these guys back now because I know that they are going to kind of rot. And I want to remove it as best as I can now, so that way when it's transitioning, if it does end up rotting, it doesn't contaminate the rest of the mixture. Because otherwise, like I said, doing semi-hydro, it is a lot of maintenance that you have to be mindful of. And yeah, I'll have to do another video on semi-hydro later for you guys. So I'm actually gonna go off camera and just kind of like clean up this chunk and then show you the final product. All right, so this is what we're working with here. It doesn't look like much, and that's because there's not much going on, to be honest. They look like they're all aerial roots, and it looks like all the secondary roots kind of like, you know, disintegrated and rotted off, but it's fine. I cleaned it up the best that I can, and I do know that some people actually scrape the chunk, but I'm not gonna do that. It's not my thing. I don't really like to do it too much unless I am trying to grow the chunk itself. So like, for example, I would only do some scraping, light scraping on this guy right here, but I don't even think I can do that because there doesn't seem to be like a node. I'd have to look at that later. That's for another time. But in any case, it'll go into here, and yeah, so I'm just gonna pot it up into this container. All right, so there it is, all potted up, and I did not forget the myco this time. All right, what's next? All right, so up next is this pasta designum, and as you can see, it doesn't look too bad. It didn't drop any leaves. It did, however, like the roots kind of suffered a little bit, but I mean, it is what it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of clip off these pathetic roots that serve no purpose. And just keep cleaning it up. So I was at the grocery store the other day, and I kind of laughed to myself because, you know, family day is coming up, and I was thinking about when I was a kid and how, you know, my parents used to take me grocery shopping with them, and it'll be like, no, you can't have like this cereal because it's not good for you, and you know. And I was walking past the cereal aisle, and I was thinking, I'm gonna go get myself whatever cereal I want because I'm an adult now. So I don't know, I was just kind of like laughing to myself thinking about it. But what about you guys? Like, is there anything that you weren't allowed to do as a kid, but now that you're an adult, you're kind of like, I'm gonna do it because I can? I think like another thing for me was probably eating while watching TV. Like, that was a huge no-no in my house because you know, my parents worked really hard, and I rarely got to see them anyways because of their schedule. So my dad made it like a point that when it's dinner time, we all eat together at the table, and that's just how I grew up. And now sometimes Steven and I will be sitting here watching a Netflix show while eating. And it never occurred to me that, like, you know, we should probably turn off the TV. Maybe I will feel this way when I have kids of my own. Maybe that's when it'll happen, where I'm like, no, TV needs to be turned off. But yeah, and then thinking back on a lot of things, it's like, you know, our parents, I don't know, they had like, I think because my parents are from Vietnam and they came to Canada, I think that you know, they just had like different, obviously like the culture was very different. So I don't know, I think they did the best that they could, and I think I turned out all right. But there's some things that I think about and I laugh. Wow, there's a lot of root rot going on with this plant that I did not expect. Oh gosh. Okay, so it looks like I'm trimming back a lot more than I had anticipated, and I'm just kind of like removing these like unnecessary things so that it doesn't rot in the container. I think we're good now. So yeah, it's kind of sad and pathetic, honestly. It is what it is. All right, this is what we are working with right now. So very little roots, but like I said, it is what it is. I have one really nice aerial root right here, so I think a lot of the roots are gonna come from this one, and maybe in this one. But this one back here, I don't think it's gonna survive, but we will see. And this plant actually has, I don't know, it's like kind of suspicious to me because I have a lot of like rotting sheath back here that I've been trying to remove, but anyways, it's fine. So this is what we're working with. I am now going to pot this guy up, and I will do it off camera because you guys know what potting things up look like. So I'll be right back. All right, so the last plant that we need to work on is this gloriosum, and quite honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed because of this sad leaf. I'm probably gonna lose it, but we'll see. We'll see if it makes it through. This leaf back here looks okay, which is kind of surprising because this is the older leaf, and usually when I receive imports, it's usually the older leaves that kind of die and the newest leaf. But in this case, this is not the newest leaf, nor is it the oldest leaf. It is what it is. And I did have to like rip off some of the leaves. I think it came with like 2 more leaves, but I was like, nope, I'm just not gonna deal with it because you're too far gone. And I just kind of want this plant to focus on rooting for me, because once it starts to root really well and take off, that means I will get more leaves. It'll grow. And spring is right around the corner, you guys. Cannot wait for spring because honestly, I'm over winter. I love winter, but I am very over winter right now. I am ready for some sunshine. I just feel like whenever it's gloomy, my mood definitely changes quite a bit, and I didn't think I suffered from seasonal depression, but I guess I do. I find myself more irritable than I should be, and I have to remind myself that, hey, you're not the only one, and these people probably feel the same way too. So, cannot wait for spring. And I'm actually going to be doing like a little series when spring comes around because I kind of want to get into gardening. When my friend was over here last time, he was saying to me that my backyard is a great place to be like, you know, planting some vegetables and what have you. And, you know, my parents have like a huge like garden, like huge vegetable garden. And I was like, it's too much maintenance. But I mean, it can't be any harder than doing imports. So I think in the summer, I'm gonna try to like do some gardening and like do like a mini series and show you guys. So hopefully you guys like watching stuff like that. And if you have any suggestions as to like what other videos you want me to do, just leave a comment down below. All right, so I think I'm pretty much done here. What it looks like is that I have no secondary roots whatsoever on this guy. It looks like all the others, I'm working with just aerial roots. But the aerial roots on this gloriosum looks really good, so pretty excited about that. So I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but the gloriosum and the obliqua will go upstairs and it will sit on top of a heating pad because I feel like it'll do better there, especially the gloriosum. And the giant philodendrons that I have, they will go back into the exo tank and reside in there because I don't have any other place to put it other than in there. So this is what's left. It's all cleaned up now. Oh, what's this? almost done now. Okay, so we're good to go. And I feel like I should probably spend more time cleaning it off, but I will clean off more of it later on down the road when I have to do maintenance for all of my plants that are in semi-hydro. So a little bit of stratum, a little bit of pond, and in you go. And a touch of mico. How are we doing, Ritz? And that's it. Easy peasy. Man, working with semi-hydro was so easy. Oh, I forget. So yeah. So for these guys, I am actually going to be topping off all of them with some HB 101 and water. And yeah, that was all. I hope that was very easy to follow. I don't like to overcomplicate anything when I am acclimating my plants, because truthfully, the most important thing is to get the plant to start rooting. So I focus more on its substrate and the conditions. So obviously when you're working with imports, you kind of want to like up your humidity just a little bit more than you normally would, so that it could acclimate and, you know, do its thing. And then afterwards you can just like acclimate it down and put it in like your home as decoration. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.